I'm going to show you the exact onboarding process I use in my agency to bring on 6 and 7 figure clients to make sure that we don't have scope creep and we make sure that we have a really good experience to reduce churn in our business. So the first piece of this is we have to understand what a system is and how the work's actually going to be done. And it's really simple. I'm going to do a screen share and show you how work flows through our business. So that way we understand how we can properly onboard these clients to make sure that there are no gaps and that what sales is telling the client is what they're actually getting and that they're satisfied throughout the entire process. So if you don't know me, my name is Scott Bartnick. I teach business owners and founders how to systemize their business. And very high level, I'm going to show you how a system works. And if you want more detail, you can check it out above or a link in the description, wherever. Probably your sales team is working with a client, they've onboarded, they've placed their first order. Now the next step of that is obviously we get that order, we want our team to do the work. But there's a lot of things in between the order and the work that needs to happen so that the client has really good satisfaction, so the onboarding goes well, so you can have a long retention, especially for marketing agencies, anything with kind of recurring revenue, so we can continue to get that work every single month. Now, once the work is done, we obviously need to deliver the work. And the last piece of a simple system is just getting feedback. So if you think about it, we're basically drawing arrows in between each one of these. Is we just want to go from each step. We want to get order to work, from work to delivery, from delivery to feedback. And then basically for our kind of ongoing clients, our retention, we want that to just basically start over. So once we have a delivery, we want them either auto renew to their next service or their next month, or hopefully we want them to purchase again so we can really build our business and grow. So let's assume that we have the order piece covered. Now, what happens once we get that order is we have a customer who is ready to start working with our agency. And a lot of times if they're hiring you, they want to start right away. So what we do is we have a really simple onboarding form. And so I'm going to put this in between order and work, because that's really what happens is we can't really do any work in our agency until the onboarding form's done. It's actually a requirement in my business. So we don't allow clients to start until the onboarding form's done, because that's where we're getting information about the business. We're asking key questions. We're getting background. We're making sure that we understand what their expectations are. And then on top of that, we build in contracts into our onboarding form. So we use Gravity Forms or any form builder that you want. If you want Go High Level for 50% off, you can grab my link down below. Basically, it's simple form. We do make them e-sign in that form with the terms of service. So you can technically do this in 2 steps. You can do an onboarding form and then a contract, or you can do contract then onboarding form. I find that if you combine them, you're going to have a lot less issues and a lot less barriers to get that contract signed, because it's just kind of one consistent process. So typically what happens for us is order comes in, so they pay, it automatically routes them to the onboarding form, and then it automatically has the contract built in. So they've now paid, they've done their onboarding form, they've done their contract. And again, you can do all this in Go High Level. You can do this in Gravity Forms. You can do this with WordPress. There's 100 different tools. So I want to focus more on the system behind being successful and not just on the tools. So once they sign that contract, part of what's happening here is that contract has standards in it. So that contract has basically what our scope is. And that's really, really important, is that the contract really clearly redefines the payment terms, that they approve the payment, what work's gonna be done. And ours is just standard. We have different package levels. And so the more you can standardize this, the quicker all of this can go. And that's really one of the key things, is making sure that your team is able to fulfill as well, is we build basic packages. So for our company, we have several packages and we do custom things as well, but they all fit into different sections into our terms of service. And so very rarely do we have to customize these, and it keeps scope really, really clear, and our team's expectations are also clear. So the other piece here is order details. So order details are basically coming in on the onboarding form. So sales will have some sort of handoff too, which I'll show you in a little bit, but the order details are really built into that onboarding form because they're giving all the information, and it just gives you a really clear handoff. So if we draw some arrows in here so it's more visual, we're basically having an order come in, we're going to the onboarding form. That onboarding form has order details built in. Let's get that to look less crazy. So assume that's kind of one piece here. And then in the same thing, we're having the contract signed and we're reiterating the standards with that client. So basically all of this was taken care of with one form. So this really allows my team to come in and be successful. Now, the next step of this is going to be more or less the beginning of the handoff. So we're going to have a project management tool. And this is where we really get to succeed. Is you can't have these projects live in a spreadsheet. It just doesn't work. It's really complicated. So we were going to go into our project management tool, but first I want to kind of reiterate what's happening here. So basically we have a project come in, so they place that order. The project's going to do an onboarding form. in that onboarding form is the contract. And then we're gonna go to a project management software. And then from there, the work's gonna get done. Once the work is done, we're gonna deliver it, all tracked in our project management software. And then once we've delivered it, we're going to ask for feedback. So that's the incomplete system. And then basically you would just repeat however you're set up in the back end. So let's just say now we're in this more or less project management tool. So you can set this up. Basically the goal here is to set it up by the actual task in your business. So you don't have to use my task, you don't have to use my steps. It's what are you actually doing in your business? And this is one of the key things to make sure that you don't drop the ball, your team doesn't drop the ball, and also that nothing relies on the founder. I don't do anything with fulfillment on my team. If I make a sale, which I rarely do sales, then I help with the handoff and I have a very specific process to the handoff, but as soon as the handoff's done, I'm out. So this is what the process is. And if you guys are interested in systemizing your business more, check out the Founder Systems AI course and community down below. I also give away a whole bunch of free templates with standard operating procedures and checklists. So you can grab the checklist on how to onboard clients specifically from this video. So that will hopefully help you be more successful. But in this tool, basically what we're doing is we have that new sale come in. So one of the key things about project management and onboarding a client is you need owners through every single step. Otherwise, you are gonna have clients just disappear. And then obviously they're gonna have disputes and payment issues and all of these things. So we have a new sale come in and they're gonna be still assigned to sales. So you can add in as many steps as you want. So my team basically knows that sales owns it until the onboarding form is done. So as soon as the onboarding form is done, they are allowed to, sales does this, and you see I assigned it to the salesperson. So this would come in and let's just use me. So I'm the salesperson in this example, it's assigned to me. I'm supposed to get onboarding forms within 48 hours. So it's my job to follow up with that. So this can be automatically generated once a new order comes in. They go into sales. For this automation, we usually use Zapier. It's the simplest. You can use Make or things like N8N, but Zapier is by far the simplest. And if you don't know how to use it, if you have this video, send it to a freelancer, have them do it for you. It's super simple. You can build out the workflow and you can use the checklist down below of the different steps. So this order comes in, the client does their onboarding. So we'll go back to this. So we're back into here. Orders came in, now client is basically going to do their onboarding. So in here, we're gonna move this over and it's gonna get reassigned. So it's gonna go to our COO now. So I'm not gonna assign this to my COO because then she'll see the notification. She'll be like, what is this? But in that process, we would change who the owner is. So I'll use this right now. We're changing who owns it, and that's a key thing. And then the due date will also change. So in my agency, we have a 24-hour basically team assignment responsibility. So as soon as the onboarding form comes in, it's gonna get reassigned to whoever's in charge of assigning the actual accounts, which shouldn't be you, it shouldn't be the founder, ideally, once you grow. And then I'll put in a due date of next day. So it's due tomorrow. Now, as we get into project management and really systematizing this, the owner and the due dates are really critical because what we're doing is imagine we have 100 clients. We get to see at a glance what's going on in our agency, who's stuck, maybe someone hasn't done their onboarding form and it's now late, how we can really help get that cadence. And if we have good management and good leadership, they're gonna be reviewing these boards to make sure they're pushing clients through to be successful. Because if someone never does their onboarding form and they never start, you don't really get to earn that money, even if they paid you in advance. And so that's where you have to give a refund or disputes or things like that. So the next step is gonna be that onboarding call. So basically we've now gotten our onboarding, our contract, and we're in the project management tool right now. So we're gonna just sit right here. And now in the tool is where we're actually gonna do the work. And that's really kind of what we're going into now is, let's have this hover over work. So onboarding call, I consider part of the work. And that's where as soon as it gets assigned, it'd be moved back over. And let's just say in this case, I was in charge of the client, which I wouldn't be. But there we're gonna do the onboarding call. For my agency, the salesperson's required to be on there. Basically, the consultant is required to be on there and any other staff. So typically we have 4 or 5 people from my team on an onboarding call to learn as much as we can about the business, introduce ourselves, to ask questions, and to really learn how we're gonna set that strategy. Now, this is another opportunity to redefine and reset scope. So basically, salesperson ideally very clearly gives the scope of the project. They do the onboarding form where it re-outlines the scope in a contract. And then on that onboarding form, we reiterate and reset expectations, whether it's timeline, delivery, things like that. And so we're just tightening this and getting it tighter and tighter. And one of the advantages sometimes, and I've seen in the past, where sales says one thing and operations thinks it's something else. So this is an opportunity for everyone to be on the same page, where sales and operations are now working together. And then the biggest thing here and what we do is we then move over to a strategy plan. So this again re-highlights the scope, exactly what we're going to do, but then it also has the client re-approve the scope and the plan. So in here, they're building a strategy plan and the client's approving it. So again, as these move over, this would still be the consultant in charge of this account is going to be in charge of building the strategy plan and getting it approved. And typically what we try to do in our agency is 48 hours on approval of a plan. So as it moves here, and then with us, we actually are not allowed to do work until they approve the strategy plan, because what if they disagree with the strategy? What if they're not happy with the strategy? What if they want to go a different direction? What if there was a big miss in expectations? We've basically been able to refine those expectations. And what this does is it helps with client satisfaction. It also helps with making sure that we're going to be successful and that we keep the client much longer. So our retention as an agency, when I was a brand new business, was only 2 months. Now my retention is close to 4 years on short-term contracts. So that's a huge, huge difference. And it's the difference between having like a business who's falling apart and can barely stay alive to a business that's really, really scaling and succeeding. That's also why I'm a 2-time Inc. 5000 founder, and it's just been part of my business is this. Now, the next piece of it, and you think about the Amazon process, is it's quick wins. So Amazon won because they got you your package quicker. They got things to the door. They got you that win, that feeling of success quicker. So as soon as they basically sign the plan, we want to figure out how can we get this client a win and get them to feel good as quick as possible. So my team actually has a 1-week turnaround on this, where we're trying to get them a win as soon as possible within a week of them completing their strategy plan. So there are several different ways we do this, but it really just depends on the client. And for any business you run, you want them to feel some sort of success as quick as possible, whether that's just training, that's education, that's a success, that's if you're doing lead generation, that's a new lead or a new sale. And so you want to get them that win. And so you want to track that win, because this is going to be a big piece of retention. If you can have them feel good on the onboarding process, on the onboarding call, they like the strategy, and then they get a win within the first week, and your client satisfaction will 10x. So this is all super key, methodical, and thought out process. Then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to go into basically active client status. So for my team, we're long-term, well, we're short-term, but they auto-renew. So it depends on what contract they're on. Some of ours are on years, some of them are 2 years, some of them are month to month. It really just depends, but they all auto-renew. So they go to active client. And then inside of this task project management, there are going to be set expectations. So you can have descriptions, expectations, you link to the onboarding form, we do a whole bunch of things inside of the project management tool, which would be another video, which I'm happy to film. If you have questions on any of this, please put it below. I'm building videos specifically based on these questions. So this is where they're starting to go successfully and hopefully having a good experience, but we don't know if they're having a good experience yet. So we delivered that first win, they're starting to repeat, but now that's where we want to start looking at feedback. So what we use Go High Level, and we automate feedback requests. And we also have our sales touch base manually every 45 days to try to get feedback. So we have a feedback form, and basically every 45 days or after that first success, we ask for feedback. And this feedback is so critical because it allows us to make sure that we're first staying to plan, we're having success, the client's happy, the communication's good, and we keep these really short. They're 4 or 5 questions max. 1 free answer and the rest are like, how do you feel 1 to 10 kind of thing. And the idea is this feedback really builds the entire system, and it allows you to get that success and that growth and that client retention, that client satisfaction. But if you start thinking in systems, every piece of this is how you get the positive reviews. So in this feedback process, what you can do is if they rank you a 10 out of 10, you can then automatically ask them to leave a Google review, or you can so there's a lot of things in here that are built into my systems that help me be more successful. If this seemed helpful, I would really appreciate a subscribe. And if you want to learn more about how to systemize your business and scale through repeatable systems to improve quality and make sure that you are pulled out of operations, check out the Founder Systems AI course and community, and make sure to grab the freebies down below. Thank you.